Let's keep the trade talk going. Frankie dropped a new trade targets board over at dailyfaceoff.com. We'll throw the link in our YouTube chat if people want to give it a read after the show. But the one new name that definitely jumps off the page is Jordan Kyrou of the St. Louis Blues. He has 6 more years on a deal that pays him $8.125 million. And Frank, this isn't really that the St. Louis Blues are going, ooh, we're regretting that contract, right? It's just they might have his replacement already.
Yeah, and I think that's really what stands out. That's the calculus that other teams have made around the league. It's a decision time for the St. Louis Blues. They have a few days, less than a week until Kyrou's no trade clause kicks in. They lose significant leverage, obviously. And with that, you see the play of Jimmy Snuggerud, a super talented player that can come in on the wing, and maybe him plus someone else can give you more production than what you've gotten from Kyrou, which, by the way, has been really consistent. He's averaged 35 goals and 71 points over the last 3 seasons. He's a player that, the St. Louis Blues have gotten a ton out of to this point in time, but again, it's a moment in time where you must make a decision with that no trade clause kicking in. Are we trying to do something a little bit different? Are we trying to change the mix of this team? What's the upward trajectory of this team? Blues fans seem to be triggered reading the words that I had in my trade targets board today, saying that this is a middling team that's not a young team. And I believe both of those things to be factually accurate. They've averaged 14th, 16th, and 23rd place finishes over the last 3 seasons. And their defense, I mean, look at their defense, 32, 33, 34, 32. They had a 40-year-old in the lineup last year. I mean, this is not a super young team. And so if you're going to try and change the mix, turn things over a little bit, then moving Kyrou at this moment might be one way to do that.
Yeah, we did get a question. And again, you can do this without just getting first round picks. Like, this isn't necessarily the Blues sitting there punting. Like, I know we got an inbox question who said, what would your thoughts be on a Noah Dobson for Jordan Kyrou swap? Like, the Blues could make this move and like still be trying to be competitive next year, right?
Oh, yeah. If they're moving Jordan Kyrou, it's not to get first round picks. They've had an abundance of first round picks. They just recently made 3 first round picks in 1 year. That's not what they're looking for. If they're moving Kyrou, it's to get an impact piece elsewhere that better fits their mix, whether it's someone like a Dobson who could provide some serious, much needed energy to their back end and youth, or whether it's someone like a Peterka up front who gives you a different mix with someone like Snuggerud being added to your lineup. So I think they've got some different options on their plate. And I think with this, sort of coming to light here in the last 24 to 48 hours that Kyrou's name has been out there, I can tell you just from the calls that I've gotten this morning, there's other teams that are in the league going, oh, wait, we didn't think or know that that's someone that might be available. What are you hearing?
So it's a similar, but granted different caliber of player, but a similar conversation maybe with Brandon Carlo, who also debuts on your board. Like, this isn't the Toronto Maple Leafs going like, ooh, buyer's remorse, we got to dump this guy. It's more like, oh, we could actually maybe get something for him.
Yes, and that would be the thought process. It's not to dump Carlo by any stretch. They like the player, like the trade. They've had some teams that have expressed some interest in someone like Carlo. And given that contract, how reasonable it is, a guy who can be your number 4 defenseman, right shot guy, obviously has a ton of size, you could see why teams would be interested. I think it's probably less likely that the Leafs move him, but the fact that his name was out there and the fact that I think so many different things are on the table for Brad Treliving and the Toronto Maple Leafs that I think they've got no choice but to consider lots of different options.
And that's not to say that the Leafs aren't trying to dump out some money as well. A guy like David Kampf is on your board, right, Frank? He comes in at number 33, $2.4 million. The conversation may be a bit more complicated around Morgan Riley as well, but it's clear Brad Treliving's trying to give this group a different look, and that might mean, again, trying to get some money off the books.
Look, he's trying to fit 10 pounds of bleep in a 5-pound bag. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Is they're always ultra aggressive. They want to try and add as much as possible. They've got money obviously moving out in their commitment to Mitch Marner. They want to make big commitments to other players. They want to be in the mix to try and land impact pieces. And they've got a whole ton of things on their plate this week at this moment in time.
Number 22 on your board definitely falls, I would say, into the cap casualty side of things as we continue along, and that would be Sam Girard, 2 years remaining at $5 million. Again, a guy who's proven he's an established NHLer, Frank, and $5 million isn't, an egregious price tag, but you also kind of look at the Avs and their salary cap situation and go, oh man, if they could get that $5 million off the books, it opens up a whole bunch of other possibilities for Chris McFarland.
Yeah, I think they've been trying to move someone like Sam Girard for 3 seasons now, 3 summers now. They've been unsuccessful. I think teams have placed a sort of hard stop, a limit on the number of undersized defensemen that they want on their blue line. And so that makes it a bit tougher to deal him. He's still a super talented player, and I think someone that, obviously you look at his ice time, nearly 21 minutes a night, is a very much a bona fide top 4 defenseman in the NHL. It's just really, does he stylistically fit what you're after? And so I don't think it's a lock that the Avs move him for some of those reasons, but I think the Avs are investigating a lot of different things. Marty Necas is much further down on my board. They have to eventually come to a decision. Are we re-signing this guy? What's that number going to be? And if not, can we really afford to go into this season with another guy who is a pending UFA? And then you've got Charlie Coyle in the center position. Again, I think they're perfectly comfortable leaving Charlie Coyle as their 3C at that price tag. But if they want to make other things happen, he's a guy in a really thin center market that you could get something for.
Yeah, and that's another great point as well. It's like, okay, if some team comes and offers you something of value for Charlie Coyle, for what you're getting out of a third line center, could you go replace that somewhere else, save a few $1,000,000, have some assets? Like, you start to see the way the dominoes could kind of fall for the Colorado Avalanche. Frank, a couple of questions rolling in here. One from TJ. Who do you view as the most likely to trade out of the top 10? And who could you see maybe itching to trade into the top 10 in this year's draft?
It's, I think, totally board dependent. I think it really depends on how it shapes up and which players go off in which order. I could see Calgary trying to move up into the top 10. I could see Boston, depending on what it looks like, moving out. And I just think there's a lot of different variables in play that I could also see a world in which someone kind of steps up completely out of the clear blue sky and makes a deal for some current help now moving out of one of those spots.
Ben is in. He's a Montreal Canadiens fan. He wants to know what area of that roster is priority number 1 for the Habs.
I would think it would be trying to add another top 6 forward piece. I think that they're trying to make something happen. I think they've been pretty aggressive to this point and have been striking out. And they're willing to deal from a position of depth. They've got lots of picks. They've got lots of prospects. They also have a lot of defensemen. So they're willing to be aggressive to try and go out and land something. But I think Kent Hughes has been pounding the pavement on that for 2 to 3 weeks now and hasn't really gotten anywhere.
Sabres fan Nit wants to know if the Sabres were to dangle Bowen Byram to the Rangers, do you think they could get someone like Braden Schneider in return, or are the Rangers pretty set on keeping a young piece like Schneider?
I think they really like Schneider. I think Bowen Byram is relatively similar to a piece that they already have in Adam Fox, and I don't know how much of an upgrade that would provide for the Rangers in the long haul.
All right, and one more for you because the chat's on fire and we got a little bit of time here. Windy City Hockey dropped this one in right off the jump. I was thinking about NHL free agency, and Arvid Soderblom hasn't been extended yet in Chicago. They obviously have Spencer Knight and Laurent Brossoit under contract for next year. I know Brossoit obviously had the injuries last year, but Windy City wants to know, could you see Soderblom getting offer sheeted or traded?
No, I couldn't. I mean, I think he's an intriguing piece, but he hasn't risen to the level yet. I don't think on anyone's radar where they're saying we got to try and pry this guy out. And beyond that, like, I mean, at a certain point, the Hawks would just shrug and go like, okay, you can have him. Like, you can screw up your own cap. Spencer Knight's the guy regardless. And I don't see the market being there for an offer sheet for him.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.